Welcome to the With Love, Your Mental Health podcast.
Hello, and welcome to our final episode of season 1 of the With Love Your Mental Health podcast.
Welcome, guys.
I can't believe you made it. Like, this is so excited.
Yeah.
Definitely thank you guys for joining us along this journey. So, of course, today we're going to start with how we're feeling. Kiana, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling excited because it is our last episode of season 1. And also, it is our viewer's choice episode. So we're going to be just asking and, reading and answering the questions that people have submitted. So, yeah, I'm just feeling excited. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling proud. I think, so often we talk about things or you're texting your friend, your family about an idea. And sometimes it's hard to take that idea from just an idea or a text message, like to something actually happen, like an actual item. So I'm just proud that we have been able to take our regular conversations and an idea in a text message this far, especially like you said, it's our last episode. We have so many questions to answer, like the feedback that we're getting, the views and everything like that. So I'm just feeling very proud.
Go us. So you guys have, and we want to thank you guys for sending in your questions, DMing, writing in the comments, and we are official today. Janice, we are going to be answering them. Okay, some of them were similar, so we will still read them, but just like kind of group them together. But well, let's get started because we got a lot of questions to get through here. So the first question is: any advice for therapists that have a hard time finding a therapist? And I know that Janice has a similar question. I think you could just read it and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, so I have a similar question. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, Lord. Okay, so it says, struggling to find a therapist that's right for me. Any suggestion, tips, or things to ask or look for when finding your therapy match?
Okay. You want to take it or you want to start?
Okay, so I am a therapist who has been to therapy. I think the biggest thing for me has been finding someone that I respect. I think therapy sometimes is like you're listening to someone. You have to value their interpretation of what you're saying. You have to value, the not advice, because we don't really give advice, but you have to value what they say. So I had to think, like, who do I listen to? Would I listen to old white man? Would I listen to a 20-year-old Asian lady? Like, what does information, when I think of knowledge and stuff like that, unfortunately sometimes we do have our biases. So like when I think of somebody that's educated or someone that I would listen to and that I would really value their input, what does that look like? Also, what am I going through? Are they specialized in these things? Do they have a lot of experience in these things? Sometimes it's the years. How long have they been in practice? Like, because I'm also in practice, do I want someone who I feel has less experience than me or has the same amount of experience as me? Probably not. So I did have to find someone who has a lot more experience, a lot more education, a lot more certificates for me to value their opinion. And not sometimes it's just what it is. Like, it's not a good thing or a bad thing, but we have to be real with who we take information from, because that definitely helps just your experience. So for someone who's not a therapist, the same thing. Like, who would you listen to? What are you experiencing, and who specialize in these things?
Yeah. And I think part of it too, the biggest thing for both, whether you're a therapist or not, is trial and error. So what you said is, really good for what you're going in, like when you're doing your search, but understand that like somebody may look really good on paper and then you get in session with them and you're like, oh, this is like, I just don't have a spark. I just don't have a connection with them. And that's okay. I feel like that's okay. It's okay to say, when somebody's getting ready to schedule another appointment with you, if you schedule it and then later on say like, hey, actually, maybe this is just not a good fit for me, because that's a really big thing. Like, I've been ghosted many times by clients. I'm also like expecting it because that's just a part of the job. But sometimes people will like ghost and then come back later because maybe it just wasn't the right time for them, and or feel bad about it. And I don't put people to the fire for that. But if I had to answer the question of like, well, how do I break up with my therapist? Like, if I'm doing trial and error, how do I break up with them? You just tell them, like, send them a text, send them an email. Hey, I'm going to cancel. And, you don't have to give a big explanation. Like all you have to say is that I'm going to cancel and thank you for your time. Like if you plan on coming back, then you can say that. But if not, you don't have to. But
Yeah.
it's really trial and error, understanding that like, unfortunately, like, I mean, I have clients that tell me I'm like their sixth therapist, like sometimes that's just what it looks like, but it is worth it. You know what I mean? It is worth it. Sometimes you need to take a break. Sometimes you need to like even just reflect again, like, okay, well, what is it in my search that I'm looking for? Am I being too critical? Am I not being critical enough? Like, and that's okay.
Yeah, I also add like I sometimes compare it to like a cosmetologist. Like there's one cosmetology license, but everybody still does hair differently. Like they still certified or specialize in different things, and they
Right.
still have like, a different way that they want the hair to look. So you still have to find the person that is right for you. But also in this time, we do understand that it's kind of hard to find a therapist. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, this isn't the right fit, but I do need a safe space right now. So until I find someone else, maybe I will like stay with this person just because of, where we are.
Mhm.
But you have to be honest with yourself about, what works and what doesn't work. Like when I think of someone that can hold me accountable, somebody that could push me, what does that person need to look like? And maybe you don't know yet. So like Kiana said, like it's trial and error. It looks like dating. Like, let me try this person. Like, how do you make me feel? Do I feel comfortable? When you talk to me, when you push me, am I defensive or am I able to listen to you?
Right.
Sometimes it might just be you, but
Right.
sometimes it also might not be the right fit.
Yep. Yep. And just like I said, trial and error, that's the biggest thing. And for the therapist, looking for a therapist, like you said, Janice, just having like, so being a clinician and then listening to another clinician is hard. But it's like they say, doctors make the worst patients. It's the same because when you're thinking about like, what would I say to someone? Like if someone came to me with what I'm saying, what would I say to them? You have to turn that part of your brain off because you're not coming to yourself about it. You're needing to talk about it with somebody else. So it's just, and I'm not going to lie, that is one of the things that have not kept me from going to therapy, but just kind of slowed my process of looking. Because I'm just like, if they say something that I don't like, I'm gonna be like, what? But you
And
can't.
that happens. Like that has happened to me. Like I've had a therapist who was my age, and I'm like, she was not supposed to say that. Like, girl, like why would you say that? But it's like, okay, so now I know, like, I do need to try somebody else. I need to be more aware of like who I am, like signing up to talk to and stuff like that, because those things do play a part. Like I'm not able to just think as a client
Yeah,
because I
and
am
you need to
like, girl, what are you using? Like what intervention is that?
tell
Like what area are you talking like we homegirls, and I'm not your homegirl.
this is what I'm saying. Like, but I think also the biggest thing is the consultations. Like me, I offer free consultation. I've I feel like I've been pretty blessed with my consultations that they have led to like really good relationships that are healing, like the people are healing. But I've also been able to discern who's not a good fit for me or who I don't think I'm gonna be a good fit for them. So but and that's in a 15-minute consultation. I've had people who I'm like, okay, well, do you have other consultations scheduled? They're like, no. I'm like, do you want to schedule? No. Do you want to get started? Yes. So it's like
Yeah.
consultations are a good thing too. I would say keep at least have at least three consultations and make at least one appointment from the three and go from there. So okay.
All right, next question. Um, okay. How do you set boundaries without feeling guilty?
Mm.
You want to go?
So guilt, shame, embarrassment, all these things are a judgment. And we do not put judgments on top of our feelings because our feelings do not get expressed, processed, and then it just gets suppressed, and then we're just in a cycle of anger. So that's just off the top. That just goes for everything. As far as boundaries, which I'm going to tell you is my favorite thing to talk about, when people come to therapy, they're like, I have bad boundaries. You came to the right place because what? It's real strict over here. So, but that doesn't mean that it's easy, right? That obviously it's not an easy thing, but I, the easy answer is you will feel the guilt. You have to let it pass because whatever boundary you're setting, is worth it. Whether it's like, don't talk to me like that. I'm not going to accept that behavior from you. I'm not going to allow you to, treat me this way, or whether it's in giving money, giving time, or whatever it is, the guilt is going to come, but it will pass. What will not pass is people respecting your boundaries if you keep going back on them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I was basically going to say like something similar. Like, it's not that there is not like, doing it without feeling guilty. You're doing it and feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Most times when we are talking about healing, you're breaking a cycle, or you're breaking like what you were taught. So it's going to be very uncomfortable doing something different. So you are going to feel guilty because, we were taught that you spread yourself thin for people. Like, we weren't taught healthy boundaries or how to stick with those. So it's going to be uncomfortable, but my advice is to do it anyway. One day it will be, you won't feel as guilty, but you might always feel guilt. But that does not mean that you don't stand up for yourself or protect yourself or put the boundaries in place. Because like Kiana said, the guilt might go away, or it might not. But what's more important is that you're protecting yourself and also showing people around you a way to protect themselves.
You think it doesn't go away? I feel like it goes away.
I think it depends on the relationship.
That's true too. That's true too.
I think it depends on the relationship, because for me specifically, I have learned that you break your back for the people that you care about. Like, love is giving, it's pouring everything that you have. So how can I love you if I'm setting boundaries? Like, I can love you, but not do it here. Like, sometimes it still hurts to say no, but I know I have to say no, because not only do I have to protect me, but I have a child who needs my energy. So I have to say no. And sometimes it hurts to feel guilty, I feel guilty, but it's not, I think it's not that it's completely gone. It's not as bad as it was when I first started putting boundaries in place, but I think you got to do it anyway.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Also, that it trains the people around you.
Yes.
Now, y'all develop a new kind of love where, I still love you, but it's in a healthy way. I know how to love you. I know how to, but also help you protect your space. So I know that your love, or we know that love isn't dependent on me showing up when I don't have it. Like, I'm going to let you protect yourself because I love you. So it's just changing what that relationship looks like, but you have to get through that first patch of like feeling guilty to get there.
Yeah, agreed. And also, a big thing with setting boundaries is it starts with you. So if you, it's even little things. Like, if I set my alarm, if I'm going to get up, I'm not going to hit the snooze button 10 times. It literally starts from, how do I keep my whatever to myself? How do I keep my routine? How do I keep my practices? Because once you master that, again, not that you're not going to feel any guilt or whatever the case when you are setting boundaries, but it'll come a little bit more natural. And also, when it comes to setting boundaries with family, because I'm assuming that's where that question came from, it's going to be hard. But it also teaches you for newer relationships. For new relationships, it's easy because the reason I probably have to set the boundary is because I had to learn that this was too much for me in this relationship. But
I disagree.
Really?
But I think with family, it's easier to set boundaries because they're not going nowhere. I think in new relationships, especially with dating and stuff like that, it's hard to set boundaries and keep them because I want this relationship, or because I'm tired of being lonely. I'm tired of being single. So I want this to work. So if I set a boundary and this person leaves, now I'm single again. So I think people often like push their boundaries down sometimes in relationships because that person can leave, whereas family, like, oh, we're going to see y'all at the next family reunion at Christmas, at Thanksgiving. But like, I want this man in my life, or I want this woman in my life. So I'm going to, change our boundaries a little bit.
That's a different perspective. That I've never thought about it like that. It's
people out here desperate.
I know. But it's funny because like with the desperation, like the way, and this is exactly why I love these kind of conversations, because the way I teach it is like, and the way that I even experience it is like, it's harder because it's family, because they're going to be around, because I'm going to see you at the next, whatever it is. I don't want you to think like, because I set the boundary this Thanksgiving, that I forgot next Thanksgiving. So then I have to keep setting it because that's just how it is with family, because they're around. But I feel like newer relationships, and maybe I really haven't thought of it in the context of what you're saying as far as like dating, usually it's for friendships, like, or just new people, period. Even if I meet a new cousin, like this is the boundary. I will not be borrowing you any money. I will not be doing this, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, but I feel like it's easier in newer relationships because it's my habit now versus
Mhm.
because I've had to learn it in this environment versus if I don't have them at all, everybody's just doing whatever they want. But with family, you're always going to get the feedback because it's family, because especially if it's family that's watched you grow up. Like, I'm not a child anymore.
Mhm.
You know? So that's why I say it's harder there. But when it comes to new people, because if you're coming in here, the way that I think of it, for people coming into my life, new people and family, the way I think of it is you will have to take your shoes off at the door. Everybody got to take their shoes off. You got to wipe your feet off. You got to come in here with some respect because that's what you're getting. So I feel like in newer relationships, it's easier than maybe family who's used to coming in with their shoes on with mud on their feet, you know?
Yeah,
So
maybe newer relationships where like you're just meeting and you have like done the healing, you've done all
yeah,
of the things, but like when you have not and you are trying to do boundaries, but you never had to like stand on them, like those first couple of times where you're like you have these boundaries, you are realizing like these things are, triggers for you or whatever the case is, but now you've met the man of your dreams and he's like clashing these things. Can I stand on it now?
mhm.
Like that, I
That's
think that's the hard part.
and if he's clashing, then
I
he's
think
not.
that's the hard part. Like, because it's easy to say, oh, these are my boundaries. But when the person that you love, the person that you want to be with is the one that's like poking at them, can you still stand on them? It's easy when no one's there.
Yeah,
Like we can say, oh, these are my to-dos, my non-negotiables. But
yeah.
now when the box is there, the present is here and it's perfect. And it's that one boundary that's like a real big trigger for you. Can you still stand on that 10 toes down?
I mean, I would hope so. That's the hope because then that it's, and I don't believe that when people regress or make decisions against whatever they said they would do or not do, that they're like undoing the work. But you have to be careful because, but again, like even what you're saying, it still comes with practice. Because if I am labeling it in my mind that this is the man of my dreams, but it's the main thing is going against it, then I can't label him that way.
Mm-hmm.
Can't label him that way because it's not adding up. Everything that he might check all the other boxes, but I think also too with boundaries, it's an umbrella, right? So it's negotiables, non-negotiables, the things that I'm absolutely like that are absolutely no, I'm not changing that for anybody, and we need to be on the same page about it, or the things that I could compromise on,
Mm-hmm.
So if it's that I'm a Christian and I go to church and this is like I want to be with a partner that loves the Lord and we're chasing the Lord together, and he's an atheist, he might not be the man of your dreams. Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's why I say it's part of the healing process and like where people are. Because even in the Christian walk, so many times, like you talk about, like, oh, I'm getting my life together and I'm trying to do this, but my man wants to have sex. So,
right.
what boundary are you going to? It's hard. I think those are the hard boundaries where, again, family, I'm not giving you no money no more. Okay, but now we at Thanksgiving and we laughing, like we still are maintaining a relationship and I'm just not giving you no money no more. But now, like, I still want to be with this man, but I don't want to have sex. So, what do I do?
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's harder because if I stand on my boundaries 10 toes down, I know
Mhm.
he might leave. My
Yeah.
cousin, you still gonna be at dinner, even if you mad at me. Like we're gonna be forced to kind of work through this because you're always gonna have to show up. Whereas
Yeah.
if I stand on this, he can leave and I won't have access to this person no more. So what
Yeah.
do I do?
Yeah. But I think part of this too is like setting it early.
Yeah, for sure.
Immediately. Like immediately. So before
Yeah.
before the excitement, like, and it's still managing your excitement, but it's whatever your boundaries are, set them early. And I don't, and it's still all of what we're saying, obviously, is like you gotta, take the temperature, you gotta read the room. Because I also don't believe that people need to like say every single thing right away. Like when in conversation, and this is where managing your excitement comes in, when and feeling, feeling out conversations and stuff, and even sometimes making jokes. I love
Mhm.
it. People make jokes because it's truth in the saying I'm just playing. Because okay, that's where your head is at because you're trying to take my temperature. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's listening instead of getting caught up in the excitement, so that you're able to set your boundary and say like, okay,
Mhm.
well, this is what I'm interested in, this is what I'm not. But I like that perspective. I like that. That's different. I like it.
Also healing though. I think that's why, you have to heal before getting in a relationship, because that you have to have control of that excitement. And I think that comes when you're not eager for a relationship, when you have found peace and contentment in your singleness. But when you are desiring or yearning or like you need this relationship, it's very hard to stand on your boundaries because you are prioritizing this relationship more than your own mental health.
Yep.
So.
Agreed. This is good. I like this. We're going to do this at the next season too. These questions are good. Okay, so this next question is more specific. It is, how do you deal with symptoms of postpartum depression? You want to start?
So I think one of the main things is like getting help, but also like psychoeducation. I think so often we talk about different words or like different diagnoses that we don't understand what they mean. So really, educating yourself about postpartum depression. What does that look like? What resources are available? I would say now, like I've seen there's so many resources available. So like really get connected to a resource, really do the education and get the help that's needed, because sometimes, like I know this one lady, she said like she's a therapist and she's never been on medication or anything like that. But because she had postpartum depression, she did have to get on medication and she was able to get off. After. So like really educating yourself and just like getting some type of support or help for that process.
Support for sure, but I also think like one of the biggest things, especially like as a therapist who's worked with like first time moms and stuff, I think like life and even just like society, I don't think, even if you've gone through it and had a baby, sometimes like I don't think women like, do you realize what happened to your body? Like, it's like, okay, yay, the baby's here. Oh, this baby's so cute. Girl, you just grew a human with functioning parts and a whole system inside of their body. Like, it's a big deal. And I think that like people, like a lot of stigmas and shame and embarrassment, all the things we were talking about, like the judgments, you have to give yourself grace. Like some people struggle connecting with their baby. Some people, like it's different for everybody. And, we've talked about things on social media and realizing what's your ministry and what's not. But I think the biggest part of it is recognizing like how big of a deal it is to have a baby, first of all. And maybe it won't seem so big that I'm sad that my brain and really just like you said, the education part of like that my brain is trying to like get back to whatever normal is now, which it wasn't normal for the better part of a year. So still not normal.
Comparing that to like how you were pre-pregnancy, I think like some people, I had the baby, I'm gonna get back to how I was like now that the baby's out. Like no, like you still have to go through a process. They say like at least 2 to 3 years sometimes of like figuring yourself out. Even for myself, I did not have postpartum depression, but it did take me like 2 years to like not even get back to myself, but figure out who this new person is with this child.
Yep, it's a whole person that needs you all the time. All the time. That is, the thought of that is anxiety inducing. Hello? Like you have to just, I think it's just, I don't feel like it's made to be a big enough of a deal. Like even just for like a woman who gives birth, like it's just, I feel like it just happens every day. So it's like, oh yay, congratulations, you had a baby. Like, no, I don't know. The thought of that, like,
educating yourself, but then also educating the people around you and the person that you had this child with. Because sometimes I think men don't understand. Well, I mean, females, we don't even understand the changes. So even getting the men to understand like how I don't really have control. Like it's a lot going on inside of me right now. So sometimes I just lash out and I don't mean to, but like I literally have the emotions of 2 people inside of me. And now it's like, it's a lot happening. So really like, how you do like the breathing classes and the poses and all the things, like really like understand the emotional part that is happening as you become a mother. And then also like from breastfeeding to stopping breastfeeding. Like I think that's a part too that like there's so much about having a kid that people don't talk about. And when I was pregnant, I was texting all of my friends, like y'all just be taking pictures and posting pictures with these kids. Like ain't nobody talk about this or that. And I am here confused. And you kept doing this. Like you have more kids. Hello? Like this is ghetto. 0 stars. I would not recommend. Like love my kid, absolutely. But like I remember one time I threw up while driving. Like I was trying to go to work, and I'm like you're trying to be healthy. I'm eating apples, and I like threw up on myself. I was just trying to drive through the stoplight, and I'm like, what?
Funny.
Like, this is ghetto. Like,
I did not know you was gonna say.
when I tell you, like, in my purse, like, my purse is on my, like, oh my God. But then you still try to show up and be fine. Like, you can't be
Right.
fine. You
Yeah.
can't.
You
So, like
can't
you said, race is a big part in education, and educating not just you, but the people around you, having people to talk to, having a support system. Like, those things are very important.
Yeah. And I think I noticed in moving to Florida, I feel like I had more of a connection with like women who were just having babies and going to the doctor. Because on the child welfare side, I'm just talking to the doctor and things are just different. Everything was different before COVID. But I think that like, so one of the, like when I give my assessments, I give it's called a PHQ-9. It's a depression assessment. And I remember giving it, and some of the new moms being like, oh, like I did this in my doctor's office. So I think, society's getting there. They're getting there. Like the doctors are, I don't know if that's new. It was new to me that they were being questioned after like 5 years of working with moms already. But they're doing the assessments in the office. And I think the biggest thing is like being honest and also recognizing that if you don't like, there's this, the stigmas or whatever, do not compare to how you're feeling, because healthy mom, healthy baby. Your kids need you. Like your kid that you birthed, created inside of you, so crazy, needs you at every moment. Like, pregnancy blows my mind. Like I just can't. It's like, like I just can't. But
it changes you. Like you are like, I remember even like they talk about, apparently it's a normal thing. Like you hear the baby crying even when they're not crying. Like just even when you try to, and the thing is, it doesn't change. Like right now, again, I have a 3-year-old. She's by her aunt for the weekend, and like I'm so grateful to have a support system. But like I was ready to cry when they drove off yesterday. Like you want a break and you need a break, but sometimes you have to force yourself to take a break. You have to force yourself to let people help. Like you have to figure out, how do I be the best mom but still like prioritize me, because my child needs me to be happy.
Yeah. The biggest thing I say to moms when we have that conversation is that you can't give what you don't have. Yeah. You can't. Like your child, and and I think I've said this in one of our episodes, and I'm gonna stand on it. Mom comes first. Kid can't come first. And I don't mean that in a way of selfishness. I mean it in a way of when I say I come first, that might mean that I need to wake up 20 minutes before my kid and pray, cry, maybe eat, maybe watch my favorite show for 20 minutes. Just to get my mind right before I give. Your child cannot work, your child cannot provide for you. It comes from you. So you have to be first because you have to give to them. You know what I mean? Like if you switch it that way instead of kids come first and the kids can't do nothing. They cannot do anything. You know what I mean?
It's like you're a better mom when you pour into you, when you take care of you, when you go to therapy if that's what you need, when you get on medication if that's what you need, when you create your support system, like when you have a place to vent. I remember like I had my daughter in the Virgin Islands. I remember driving to like my cousin's job, like, and sitting in the parking lot waiting for her to get off, because I'm like, I need to have a conversation with an adult. Like I've been around this kid all day. She can't talk. She can't listen to me. Like I need to talk to an adult. Like, can you ask me a question? Like, can we just talk? And I'll just like stop her in the parking lot, just literally just waiting for her to get off. Because like I need to talk to an adult and really have the people around you that validate those things. They're like, Janice, what are you talking about? Like that doesn't make sense. Like it's not about if it makes sense. This is what I need right now, and having the people that show up for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's. I mean, we could go on and on about that, but those are the main things. And the shame. Leave the shame. I just hate it that moms like mom guilt. Like if they're doing something I just hate that society has like made that a thing. Like I be telling my mom, look, there's no mom guilt in here. You say what you're going to say. You're going to do what you're going to do. And you're going to step out of this session feeling refreshed. There's no shame and guilt. Like I said, guilt and all those things, push it down. They push down your emotions. They push down how you're feeling. It's okay to be annoyed with your kid. Kids are annoying. If you don't have a space to say that, how is that going to manifest?
Yeah. Even the intrusive thoughts, like we have intrusive thoughts like regularly. So even having them as a mom, like as you navigate this thing, like it's part of it. It's different when like you're acting out on these intrusive thoughts. That's when like you definitely need to get like some serious help. But if you like have a thought and you can control it, you can like
Mhm.
put it away and like no, like this doesn't make sense or stuff like that, then that's different.
Yeah.
Because intrusive thoughts, like they do happen. They are
Mhm.
normal.
They are. Yep.
Okay.
Next one.
All right, let's see. What advice would you give to someone silently struggling right now?
I would say don't do it silently. That's a quick answer. Don't do it silently because again, just like it's like a theme, right? When we talk about, okay, if I'm doing it silently, why? That's the first,
Mhm.
that's what I would ask. Like the first thing I would think about is embarrassment or shame. Like I don't want to say something about it because of what I think somebody's going to say or do or whatever the case. But for that question specifically, because I mean, and realistically, a lot of people are struggling silently with things. But what I would say is if you're unsure, if you're, you know, whatever the situation is, if you can't find a therapist, I will say, and I'll put it here, the name of the app, but there's an app that it's a groups app and it's free. I think it's free at least for the first few like two times or whatever the case. But you can join for whatever the topic is, and it's like group therapy, but you don't have to, you don't have to show your face or whatever on it. And because sometimes people just need to hear that they're not the only person dealing with something. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you need to hear that, and it's not always the safest to like Google it, or it's not the safest, to look on TikTok and see a bunch of videos of everybody talking about going through the same thing with no solution versus a different kind of like platform or space. So but that would be my biggest thing, is to not do it silently, because we were created for fellowship. Human beings need each other. People literally go insane in, solitary. So don't do it silently is my first
Yeah,
thing.
I think that's the biggest part for me too. Like you got to give it a voice. Like you got to get it out. You got to say it. If even if it's like you just start by journaling, like, but you have to get it out. Like just keeping everything in just weighs you down. You got to get it out. So finding somebody to talk to, like going to therapy, even again like with the whole parenting thing, I struggle just with different things, and like there's so many different groups on Facebook, like
Mhm.
people just like, oh well, I couldn't get my child with a pacifier, this is what I did, or I didn't know I was struggling with breastfeeding and blah blah. So like really building a community, because I promise you there's nothing that you're going through that like no one else has been through. It
Telling
might
you.
not look exactly like how you are experiencing it, but you're not alone. So don't let your mind trick you into believing that you're alone and that you have to face this alone, that you have to go through this alone. If you're religious, like you got to pray. The Bible says like God is always with you. So
Mhm.
you're never alone in anything. Really, again, give it a voice, talk about it,
Mhm.
get it out, journal, go to therapy, get some type of resources or community, so you don't have to struggle alone
Exactly.
or struggle silently.
Because
Again, really, I think everybody in the world is struggling. Like no one has the perfect life. We've seen it so
hello.
with the most amount of money to the least amount of money. Like everyone has some type of struggle. Like no one has the perfect life.
Yeah,
So don't think that you have to do it silently or that you're alone in this fight.
yeah. Because anxiety and depression is going to lie to you. That's the first lie that is going to tell you that you the first person in ever that this has ever happened to ever. That's a lie. There are no there are no unique experiences. Like there are no unique ones. Like
Yeah.
you're not alone. So that's what we would say to that. Okay, so the next question is, how do you deal with family members that play victim, and how do you set boundaries with them? So
Mm.
answered that a little bit with our back and forth, our different perspectives, but dealing with family members that play victim, um, the quick answer is to not deal with them. So, I'm sorry. It's not funny. It's not funny, but the thing is, when you are like, I feel like individuals, and whether this is family, friends, or whatever, you have to, it starts with you. It doesn't start with them. It doesn't start with the person that you're dealing with. It starts with self. So what do I put up with? Again, and even for myself, again, just when we were talking about the boundaries, what are my negotiables? What are my non-negotiables? Me personally, you're not going to be talking to me any kind of way. That is non-negotiable. I really can't even tolerate over a certain octave, like yelling, cussing, screaming, and stuff. That we can never talk again. It just is. That's just my biggest thing. I don't care who it is. So if And I also feel like you can disagree with somebody and talk to them just like this. You can have a disagreement. Yes, we get passionate. We get, you know what I mean? But I think part of that is just like in conversation, I'd be like, oh, bring it down. Hold on. We getting a little loud, we're getting a little excited or whatever the case. But if every time you tell somebody how you feel and they're yelling at you, or you're telling them how something that they did made you feel, and now they're oh, I'm going through this and I'm going through that. You need to reevaluate that relationship. It's way easier said than done. I'm aware of that. I'm very aware of that, because sometimes that person might be your mom, but yeah, I think it's still the same.
Yeah, I think this is something that's very hard.
Okay.
I think on one side, like part of it is remembering that everybody views life based on their experiences in a sense. So like your life and your experiences kind of put these blinders, and sometimes people who play victim, like their experiences, so this is how they see life, just how
Yeah.
you see life in a different way, and they are 10 toes down on like this is their experience. I personally am in the place where I'm learning that it's not my job to change their experience or to help them see things differently. Like Kiana said, is to figure out how do you deal with these people. I think another thing is like having very structured conversations, because they'll be quick to say, oh, well, this happened to me, this happened about. What are we talking about today? And what do you need from me? And what can I give? If you need $1 million from me, well, I don't have that. I have 2 cents. Is that what you want? Like, and this is a very structured conversation, because I'm not going into everything that happened to you or everything that all the bad people came to hurt you. That don't have nothing to do with me. We talking about me and you. What do you need from me? Can I do it or not?
Yep. And the structure is
because you want to tell them like, girl, that's not what happened, but they're not going to see it differently.
Yeah, I feel like understanding is a big thing. That, like, the way that I look at it is like, I'm not trying to understand, and not in a nasty way, but I'm not going to understand because I'm not in your shoes. I could empathize with you and you could tell me something like, oh, this happened to me. I said, damn, girl, it's terrible. I'm so sorry that happened to you. You know what I mean? But I feel like people's pain, like especially when you operate from a place of pain, that's always going to be the biggest thing in the room. And you can tell somebody as much as you want till you're blue in the face that you understand, but what they're looking for is for you to take their pain away, and that is not going to happen. So again, that's where
if they are making decisions to hold on to it. Like, yes. So that's why it's like you got to be very careful on how you interact, because like you could be very stressed out or distress yourself out by trying to get them to think differently or to see differently or to completely understand. Like, it's never going to happen until that person is ready to give up this victim badge that they've been wearing for their whole life. And sometimes people in their 50s, 60s, so they're not going to. And again, you just got to figure out how to deal with them.
I think it's figuring out how to deal with them and figuring out, like, especially if it is a parent, just like what I'm going to hold on to, right? So if it's like, it's not my mom, but if it is my mom, right? Like, if it is my mom, what do I care about more? Do I care more about the point that she's not getting, or do I move in our relationship where we only do fun things together? Because that's all that I can deal with as far as my memories. Is it that, like, I'm structuring it like we always have a good time when we go out to new restaurants, and that's just going to have to be our relationship, and I can find the healing and, the part where at least I still have that connection with her. For some people, that's not enough. So then I can't have the relationship at all. But I feel like two things could be true at once, and it is possible to operate in a place like that just might not be good enough for you. And I don't want to say like you're okay with that, because then we don't want to start just accepting things that aren't good enough. But sometimes things in life aren't good enough because, again, like Jenny said, like, it's a choice that has to be made. Now, if we talking about plain old disrespect, I personally feel disrespect is a choice, because there is a better way to talk to somebody, especially, and I know it comes with learning and all that kind of stuff, but that's where boundaries come in. So if I'm consistently setting a boundary with somebody, hey, can you just not talk to me like that? Like, let's just talk. And especially if you're modeling the behavior for them, after a while, it's a choice. Once people make their choice, you have to make yours as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I also want to remind people, like, sometimes your healing journey is just that, it's your healing journey. Because you have healed does not mean that the people around you have healed, or that it's now your responsibility to heal the people around you. So sometimes, again, it's accepting them for who they are or where they are in their life right now, and just determining how do I function or how do I manage or interact with them based on that. Because they might change, they might not, but you can't take that on. Like, you cannot burden yourself with helping them see things differently, or like figuring out, like Kiana said, like, still have your boundaries. Like, I understand you went through all of this and all the bad things in the world happened to you, but over here, when we're getting together, this is how you're going to communicate with me, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to have very structured conversations, and that's that.
Yep. Access is important as well. I just feel like you just won't have access to me.
Yeah.
You're disrespectful, you will not have access to me, period. It doesn't really matter who it is. So
Yeah.
don't worry about that. That more coming soon on that topic.
All right. Next question. What are you currently unlearning in order to protect your mental health?
I don't think I personally am unlearning anything. I think I have unlearned. No, actually, I am. I feel like, no, I have unlearned with being a therapist and like functioning as a therapist in like just outside of therapy sessions, that like how to turn my brain off. And I mean, it's down to like even watching things. Like when I'm watching things on TV, or just like, even if it's like trash TV, I'd be like, oh my God, I would be their therapist because this is the modality we would use. But I'm like, I'm not enjoying myself when I do that. So I am definitely unlearning or learning how to, or I think I've done a pretty good job of like just being able to turn my brain off. Yeah, that's the biggest one that I feel like I've had to unlearn.
I think for me, I have two that I can think of right now. I think kind of even like the family thing or the previous question, like, it's not my job to understand. Like, I don't need to understand or like to put my shoes in my feet with shoes, or like some things I won't understand. But because again, I'm a therapist, I'm like, oh well, this has been because of this, or like just trying to get to the root of these people's lives. It's like that's not my responsibility, and I don't need to do that. I think another one is like really figuring out my role. Like, I can't be everything for everybody. I need to be what I can. I gotta prioritize me and then my child. Like, and then whatever is left can be for other people. And I think the biggest one with my child, what I'm learning to protect my mental health, is that it's not my job to protect her from people who don't show up how I want them to show up. It's my job to teach her how to deal with people who show up in different ways. So if someone is not consistent or someone is whatever, like, I can't say, oh, well, no, you just don't have access to her, or whatever the case is. I think it's more important, because I can't control people, to make sure that I do my best so that when she's an adult, she knows that people show up differently. It's not a reflection of you, and just know how to interact with those people.
That's a good one. That's really good. That's really good. I like that.
But it's hard. It's very hard, because, of course, as a mom, you don't want your child to hurt. You don't want them to go through different things. But I think the bigger picture is that if, God forbid, something happens to me and I'm not here, I need her to learn how to deal with people, because you will never be able to control people. She's going to encounter people that aren't the best, that aren't nice, that aren't whatever. And she, even like now, like when she goes on play dates, oh, well, they're not playing with me. Everybody don't have to play with you.
Right.
Everybody will not play with you. Everybody will not be nice to you. How do you deal with that, though? Are you sad? Okay, well, let's cry. But now let's go play with something else, or let's do something by yourself. Because, again, people are not going to show up how I want them to show up for her, or how she wants them to show up. But you have to be able to navigate that.
Or even how you've shown up for them. I think that is one of my biggest things. And because I feel like I knew that, like, not everybody shows up the same way. But I also feel like not showing up at all, that's just not going to work for me. So I like when I talk to, people about, especially with their kids, like you said, you don't want them to hurt and stuff. They're going to. That's but the biggest thing, so changing the perspective, instead of like trying to protect them from this pain that is inevitable, it's making an environment or creating an environment for them to be able to experience pain and to
I have to equip them. I have to equip her for I know what I know she's going to go through.
exactly, and to know that it'll pass. It'll
Yeah.
pass. Like, but they will experience pain. I feel like when parents do that, like you're setting them up for failure because they will be in pain. They will. Sometimes kids have to experience things younger than we care for them too, but there's no right time for pain. So, you know, but
because even thinking about like when she becomes an adult, I think there'll be a greater level of comfort knowing that I prepared her for the rough days versus if I protected her from all the rough days and now it's like, oh, how she's going to navigate this. I mean, I think it's the same as therapists or like in this field. Like my job is not to make you dependent on me. My job is to make sure you have what you need to be successful in any situation. So, but again, as a mom, it's hard because I want to protect her from anything that can make her cry. But it's like I have a bigger responsibility to make sure you're prepared for life. So I can't let, my protectiveness or, whatever I'm going through make you not ready for the world because it's rough out here.
and it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, the next question is kind of similar. I think we just kind of answered it a little bit, but it's asking how are you and I navigating dealing with triggers? Navigating dealing with triggers is the math equation answer to that is boundaries. Okay. Like I said, my biggest thing is like disrespect. That is a trigger for me. That bothers me too. I mean, it sends me to the moon, honestly. So therefore I set a boundary and then I go from there. But that's honestly like my biggest trigger. And like people, like when I experience people who have like just mood swings, like 1 minute we're here, one minute we're there, and then they're also not like, I'm not to say that they're not aware. It's not I don't know if they're aware or not, but it's dealing with, again, what we've been saying for this whole time is that I can only control myself. So boundaries and focusing on what you can control is the biggest thing for me personally.
I definitely agree with boundaries. Like I was telling someone recently, like I don't put myself in predicaments where I could be triggered. Like there are having different times too, like, oh well, we need to have a meeting about this or we need to go out to eat. And it's like I know that I'm not in the space to have this conversation in a peaceful way. Because I also know that if you say anything left, it's gonna be how low can you go? Okay. So to avoid that, I am very honest with myself about where I am, what I can handle. I am very clear on the boundaries that I put in place. But then I think also like having realistic expectations. I don't expect people who have no emotional intelligence to operate as if they do. I don't expect people who are selfish to think about my feelings or how this will impact me. I expect them to show up as who they are and what they've shown for however many years. And then I determine based on how it's a 55% chance that they show up like this. If they show up like this, can I handle it? Like, am I in a place that this won't trigger me? And that's how I've been trying to navigate. Again, it's hard.
It's hard.
Not easy.
Practice. I feel like everything that we have talked about from today and all the episodes before, it comes out of our mouth easily because we on the internet, right? We got to get the point out. But please understand that it takes practice. It takes practice. It took me a long time to not meet people in hell where they try to drag me to. Because listen, I'm not going to argue. These days I don't argue. I'm good for a debate, but the things I used to say, like, yikes. So it took me a long time to get there. But I also, again, what about me? Like, how do I want to show up? Like, what do I want to, and also thinking about how certain things make you feel after the fact. So yes, let's not get it twisted. When you cuss somebody out, when you fight, when you do these things, you have a relief. It's a release of whatever that anger is. But then really, how do you feel? Really, it was a 2-second relief for what? For what? Like you have to ask yourself that question. But all of this takes practice. But these are the formulas and the methods that we're trying to
Practice
Even
and accountability. I think for me, like my mouth has been one of the things that my mother been trying to get me to work on for at least 10 years.
same.
Uh, and if it's hereditary, I get it from my father. But um, like you said, it's not worth it. Your
Yeah.
reputation, your mood. Like I much rather people experience me in a positive way. Like when I die, like little tributes that they write in my book are
Yeah.
about like positive things. When they think about me, um, it's happy, not like, oh, was she mad? Like
Yeah.
the things that she be saying, like I don't want that to be my reputation or like my legacy or anything like that. And then also just like with this walk with God, think about the power of your tongue. Like if I can go so low to hurt people, like imagine like if I trained myself to say positive things, how much I could uplift people if
Yeah.
when I try to hurt you, like it goes down. And then also being a therapist, like knowing what these people have gone through. So knowing their triggers and what I can say, like, is just a very dangerous game that I just don't want to play anymore. So because of that, again, I have to be clear about their expectations. I have to have boundaries in place. I have to be honest with myself about the place, the conversations, the whatever, the position that I'm putting myself into. Like, am I in a good place to be there?
Mhm. And that's that mindfulness that we talk about. Telling you guys, you hear it like every episode. Okay.
So, how can people manage anxiety in everyday situations?
Okay. And then I have similar questions that we'll just kind of put all together. But one of the questions is what triggers extreme emotions or mood swings in people? And the other is what are some healthy ways to cope when you're feeling overwhelmed or burnt out? So again, I feel like this is like an umbrella because the main thing I would say to start is just like, well, the what triggers extreme emotions in mood swings in people could be anything, honestly. It could be anything. It could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, etc. But the biggest thing is like to cope is mindfulness. Like you have to know how you feel, which I feel like we talked about the very, very first episode. And like just us talking about like, okay, I know when I sleep good, I get up, get something to eat. When I'm not sleeping well, my mood is not too good. My capacity is way lower. Like you have to wake up in the morning and again, training, practicing. It has to
Mm.
start somewhere. It has to start somewhere. So if you're catching it at the end of the day, like I had a terrible day and I really don't even remember what happened because I was anxious all day, in how am I calming myself down to start the next day to put up a barrier between me and whatever else might come because I don't know what's coming. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again,
Big
control.
part also might be suppressed emotion. So like not maybe you do know your emotions or you have been able to identify them, but you don't do anything about it. So then when you do lash out or when that emotion it comes to surface, it is a big event or it is an explosion because you haven't dealt with it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's definitely like the coping skills and things. And when we say coping skills, right? We talked about journaling, we talked about breathing exercises, we talked about mindfulness is the biggest one because I could tell you to do a breathing exercises, but why? Why are you doing that? Like, is it making you feel better or are you making you hyperventilate? I can tell you to journal, but why? Why are you doing it? Are you doing it just to sit and pass the time or are you experiencing that relief of like just getting whatever racing thoughts I have down on paper? But you're
Mhm.
not going to get any of that if you're not conscious of how you're feeling and you're also not putting a judgment on whatever you feel. Your feelings are your feelings. Um, and then just going from there, but you have to figure out how you feel first and be able to put a name to it, which is why for this season we have started every single episode with the feelings wheel so
Mhm.
that you can understand that for whatever you're experiencing from head to toe, there's a name for it. You name it and then we attach solutions to what we've named. You can't put a solution to something that you don't name.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think the biggest thing is having healthy habits, like regular healthy habits and routines and things like that in your life. I think about recently, I did a training at my school I work at alternative school, so a training for like the different programs and how we support the students. And we did what I called a chill chart. So you think about like your top 4 feelings, like what are the feelings that you often feel, and if there's any that you're feeling this, what is available to you. So if I'm usually happy, depressed, angry, or sad, like what is available to me, what do I do, what's my coping skills, what's my mechanism, what is available to help me with these emotions. So really like knowing, I think like you said, we spoke about in our first episode, like just how oh, I'm thirsty, I need some water, or I'm overstimulated, I need a nap. If I'm angry, if I'm anxious, if this happened at work, what do I do? So really taking the time out to like date yourself. How do you feel when you in the mall? How do you feel when you out to eat? How do you feel when you got nachos? Because for me, I love to go to the movies, not to watch a movie, just to get some nachos.
I
those things.
I watched a movie yesterday, and I got how I feel about popcorn. Okay, like I got me
popcorn.
I love popcorn, and I love going to the movie. I went to the movies by myself. I got me a popcorn and a slushie, and I sat and enjoyed my movie. So
yeah, sometimes it's just those simple that you put into your week. Like for me, music plays a big part. I have a job that is sometimes like stressful or can lead to burnout. But every day, like when I drive to go pick up my child from school, most days I'm driving in silence because I need a moment where no one needs me, where no one needs from me, when no one's talking to me. So really having those things in your day. But of course, like Kiana said, first it's about knowing how you feel, being honest with your feelings, figuring out what's even like contributing to these feelings. Is it that a certain person came to talk to you today? Is it that your boss gets on your nerves and like, you got this meeting? So how do you prepare for that? So just being honest, taking out the shame, and having those healthy skills, those coping skills available to you so you can put them in place every day.
Exactly. Okay, so this question, I will need my reading glasses for this. Okay, so this says, do you believe that there is still stigma surrounding mental health services within the Black community? And if so, how can we continue the conversation to create effective change? I think that there is, the short answer is yes, I feel. But I feel like, I don't know, I don't feel like it's as bad as it used to be, the stigma for mental health in like the Black community. Only because, and I mean, of course, as a therapist, I can only speak for myself, but most of my clients are Black. So it's like, at least for this set of 20 odd people, they're dedicated, and they're proud. They're proud to talk about it. And I get recommendations from them because they're like, oh, you could talk to my therapist, or here's a therapist, or whatever the case. But for the second part of the question, how do we affect change? I feel like we just have to keep talking about it, which is like, I feel like the foundation of this whole podcast, like to get it out there and just keep having the conversations, because mental health is not going anywhere. It's not.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think we have come a long way. I think we're definitely getting better. Just like you said, by this podcast, by having different conversations, even on social media, people are quick to say, "Oh, my therapist said this." So really normalizing that people are in therapy has been helpful. Like, and people of all backgrounds, all races, all economic status. Like, there are some rich people that's like, "Oh, I go to therapy every Tuesday." There are Black men, white men, like everybody has. I'm being honest about. Going to therapy, and I think that's great. I think, like you said, we just got to keep continuing the conversation. I think for myself, like I think what's next for like Jim's mental health, I plan to like start, I don't know if I told you about this, like I want to start interviewing people, because I'm like, we come on here and we of course share resources and share interventions, share skills and stuff like that, but really taking the time to intentionally interview more people so they could talk about like how are they applying these skills in life. I think even like with the person who talked about struggling silently, I think having the conversation and sharing that, one, we're all struggling and this is how I made it through, or how I'm making it through, I think that's helpful. I think a lot of times, again, like those lies that we tell ourselves, oh, like that person, they didn't go through everything, or they're strong because of what they saw on social media, but you don't know the whole picture. So I think being vulnerable, talking, communication, being honest, I think that helps the the narrative move or helps get rid of some of the barriers and the myths and stuff like that when it comes to mental health. Even at my job, like there's students who aren't on my caseload. It's like, Ms. Mathias, tomorrow at 11, I'm coming to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, like are men or young men who like don't really have nobody to talk to.
Right.
And I don't even have to ask, again, they're not even on my caseload, but they make it sure like put me down for tomorrow at 11.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yep.
I think it's just, and we're doing a good job. We just got to keep it going.
You just have to keep it going, and also realizing like when you reach somebody like in the way that you're talking about, like it just I feel like the breaking the stigma is the part where everything is a secret. Like that's been the biggest part. Like, oh, you know, what happens here stays here and all that. And now you got this burden on your back for the rest of your life. So I feel like that part is being broken a lot, because once you get somebody to talking about something, you literally see like the weight coming off their shoulders. So I feel like even just that part is a start. But yeah, it's just keep having the conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one more. So mine says, I need to end my marriage, but I'm struggling, and for every fear that I think I unlearn, another one pops up. I become crippled, I can't say the words, and I can't pull the trigger. How do you run from the devil you know?
Well, that's a heavy question.
Yeah, I think never had any about marriage. I think that's a hard one. I do want to say though, like the part where this person, I'm assuming a female, maybe a male, the part where this person says, for every fear that I think I unlearned, another one pops up. I think we spoke about this before about like training your mind. When you are afraid to do something, you're going to think about all the negative things, but you have to essentially think about, okay, if this is a marriage that's not working, it's not successful, what's the positive thing? So those are the things that you remind yourself. And every time you think of like it's getting harder or whatever the case is, you add another positive thing that can come from separation versus just focusing on.
Yeah, I think based like piggybacking off what you said is that I think the biggest thing is like that there is another side. So of course, when we talk about mindfulness and I say be where your feet are and all that stuff, it's easier to do it when we're in the negative, right? Like, oh, I am being where my feet are. These are all the terrible things. But if I believe, I don't feel like it takes much. I feel like it takes the belief that there is better. And especially if better is solidarity, right? For a time, for whatever that might look like. Peace, right? So because, and like we said, like just the theme of all of this, what we talked about today is just like, you can't change a person. So if you are trying to compromise and maybe going to therapy and all these other things and nothing is changing, what are you doing? It's not about the other person. What are you doing now? What are you doing? And what are you going to do? And just understanding that, again, if I feel that whatever it is in this marriage, that's not good enough for me, if I'm going to keep accepting that is what my brain is going to understand as okay. It is going to accept less, and it is going to have more fear when I'm thinking about better because I have trained it to accept less. You know, so I feel like
it's hard. I think I don't know if I spoke about this, but at some point, like I was engaged to my daughter's father. And leaving any situation like a family, especially like the family that you created, a marriage and all those things, I think it's hard. But realizing that you deserve more, you deserve better, and also what you put on a pedestal. So we spoke about this in our last episode, where the goal. So is it that, the goal is marriage, but is the goal still marriage if that marriage does not have peace, if it doesn't have respect, if it doesn't have, healthy communication? So when you think about your life and what you want in life, what's the goal? I think for me, I had to realize like, my goal is peace. My goal is, being healthy enough that I can take care of my child in the best way possible, even if that's not while being in the house with or being in a relationship with her dad. So really like having those conversations with yourself to figure out like what you value, and believing that you can accept more, or
Mhm.
like more is available to you. And sometimes it's not more as in a positive relationship or a new husband or a new wife who's, perfect.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just peace of being single.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, you have to value that peace and that calmness more than you value a relationship.
Yep.
Uh, so you run from the devil that you know by realizing that you don't have to deal with the devil at all.
At all.
Like,
At
you don't
all.
need that person. Like, you don't have to have a devil in your life. And that
At all.
some people let go of what they know to make room for something else. Like, nobody's perfect. There are going to be issues in every relationship, but it doesn't have to be another devil.
Yeah. But and I think the goal, the understanding is like the goal is not perfection. So like I know we always say that, oh well, I'm not perfect and they're not perfect, and that's not the goal. The goal, peace is not perfect either. Like peace is not perfect either. Sometimes again, if it's solidarity, like what is perfect? I think that's the other question. Like if I had to think about it, but you like you said, you don't. I mean, if I'm thinking of it in terms of that I'm running from a devil, I probably shouldn't be involved, right? Like in this way, if it has gotten to the point that this is what I'm comparing it to, what am I doing to myself? Not what the other person is doing. I can't control them. What am I doing to myself? What am I telling myself that I'm worthy of? And if
Mm.
I don't feel like I'm worthy of it, which I think this person does know that they're worthy of it, is why they're asking the question. Um, if you know you're worthy of it, then take a step. Take a
Yeah.
step. Take a step. Take
And again,
one.
that does not mean it's
Go.
going to be easy. Does not mean it's going to be completely peaceful at first. But I'm glad that there's something inside of you telling you that you deserve more.
Agreed.
And that voice is never going to stop.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So at some point you have to listen. And I been there, not in a marriage, but like been there when like, well, no, well, maybe I can deal with this. Maybe, it's like, no. At some point, again, the mindfulness, like you have to be honest with yourself and take that step. That's not an easy step. Like, again, things aren't going to be perfect. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm out the marriage. Now my life is great. No. But even when I left my child's father and it was rough, in a rough season, I was still at peace. I still was
Yeah.
happy. I still like was still better
Yeah.
than pretending like you're happy or whatever the case is. So listen to that voice. Like maybe one day y'all could be friends, y'all could be cool. But maybe the relationship right now, maybe you deserve more.
Mm-hmm.
I
Exactly.
hope that makes sense.
Yes. I hope all of these answers were helpful. And I really, really appreciate everybody who sent in a question or text message or whatever the case. And I hope that, like I said, I just hope that it's helpful because that's what we're here for. So
Yes. So for the last time, Kiana, what does your shirt say?
my shirt says, of course, it's pink, which is my favorite color. I don't know if you can see it. It says sprinkle kindness. Can't really see the kindness, but there's sprinkles on the donut. Sprinkle kindness, which that is my favorite comparison between kindness and niceness. Be kind, be kind, be kind, be kind to each other. That is what in all of what we talked about today, all season, be kind
To each other and also yourself.
to yourself.
Ironically, I also have a Be Kind shirt.
You do.
So my shirt says, "Be kind. Everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about."
Wait, we didn't
Which
plan that.
again,
I did not know that your shirt said "Be kind" today.
I didn't think about it either till you just said yours says "Be kind." I was like, "Oh, I think mine says "Be kind" too." But yeah, like I think again with the person that's struggling silently, like everyone is fighting something. Like whether it's depression or coping with a loss. Like at this point, everybody knows somebody who died. Everyone kind of might be struggling at their job or has lost a job before, or not getting the money they want. Everybody got kids and the kids pissed them off. Their mom pissed them off. Like siblings, like everyone is fighting a battle, whether they're doing it out loud or silently. So just be kind with each other, but also be kind with yourself.
Exactly. Well, we really, really appreciate everybody who's tuned in, shared our videos. And I'm just really proud of us. I'm really proud of us that season 1 is coming to an end. Season 2 is coming soon. So stay tuned. catch up on the episodes, and we just really appreciate you guys.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for, just being along this journey with us. We do have a lot in store for season 2 that I think you guys definitely love. In the meantime, continue sharing season 1. We are working on some things to for those who kind of want to see season 1 on other platforms. So look out for that information. And just thank you guys for the support. We wish you guys the best throughout this gap. And again, don't struggle alone. Like, if you need support, reach out. If you need therapy, get involved in therapy. Just wishing you and your mental health the best possible.
Yes. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.